everybody, and welcome to Hashtag Truth. Tonight, we have three guys who are here to talk about crucial conflict wrestling. Ron Kennedy, this guy apparently told a lot of people that he was starting a promotion, got a bunch of balls rolling, was supposed to pay a lot of people to get things done. They had a lot of major wrestlers that were in the game. This happened back in 2015. I want to say before we start the show that this show is not intended to slam on promoters or people who are running shows. This is more of a learning experience. We want people to get to make sure if you're getting into a wrestling organization, or if somebody just out of the blue calls you up and says, hey, we're doing this, I need you to work on this and I'll pay you, make sure you know it's legit. Because when you hear the story, you're going to understand why I'm saying that. Hi, guys. We have Howard Coates, we have Eddie Ortega, and we have Chuck Winchester. How you guys doing this evening?
Doing good, thank you.
Now, let me see if I can get this story right, and then we'll go around the table and hear all of the way you guys got brought into this. The way I was told is there was a gentleman by the name of Ron Kennedy who decided to start up a wrestling show, or it was going to become a wrestling show. It was called Crucial Conflict Wrestling back in late 2015 or late 2014, early 2015. He got a hold of Eddie, Howard, and Chuck, the three guys you see on the screen, and had them each doing jobs to get venues, to get wrestlers, to get, everything put together, everything done for this show. And he was basically the Vince McMahon of the whole thing. He would call in, check in to make sure everybody was doing their job. He would call in and say, hey, let's put the money here. Let's do So let's start off with Howard. Howard, how did you come into this?
I actually heard about it through Eddie. And I got a hold of Ron Kennedy and talked to him for a little bit, and he gave me a whole spiel how he had millions of dollars and how he wanted to start a new promotion that rivaled the WWE. Because let's look at 2015, there really wasn't anybody else out there. It was WWE was like the main promotion. The Northern National, there was no real anything out there. So he talked a good talk. He actually made me, or convinced me to quit my job to come on board. He sent me, he had sent me an actual contract, a legit contract, man. It was like probably 10 pages long. Tell me what he's going to pay me, tell me what's going to go on. So I got on board, and the rest kind of went from there.
Okay, Eddie, how'd you come into this?
I was working for a local promotion, WW time, and I had online. If I can remember, it was I ran into him online somewhere, asked him what he did, and he said, videos. He did all kind of stuff, and we weren't talking about like a stuff. We were kind of talking about what we can do. That was the time, and then it just escalated from there. We would talk and pitch ideas to each other, and then it just started getting into this big, huge idea. We'd be on the phone for hours upon hours until the wee hours of the morning, talking about ideas, writing storylines. This is why it was like so believable. I mean, he like befriended me and it was just, I didn't think he could do something like that, because it was just like, why would
so if you could put a number to it, how many hours did you spend on the phone with Ron Kennedy talking ideas about this upcoming wrestling show you guys were putting together?
I mean, I'll legit be on the phone with him probably about 4 or 5 hours at a time.
And how long did this go on? Like a couple of months, 6 months?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that long. Probably about. It's been quite a while, so I don't know the time frame.
Right.
It was probably like, I don't know, 4 or once maybe, but it was like a daily basis. Just we would sit there, brainstorm like. That's why this boggles my mind as to what he was trying to do, because really, for as much time and effort and stuff that he put into it, he really didn't get anything out of it except for some jail time.
Right. So I liked the end of that. That was cool. All right. Hottest commodity. Tell me how you became involved in this.
All right, so I'm friends with JD Drake. Drake had already been talking to Ron, and he told Ron that I was pretty good with videos, and I was really, really good with audio, and so he tells me to get in touch with him, and I got in touch with him, and he laid out all this plan. I mean, it was ludicrous. He talks a good game, like Howard said. He talks a really, really good game. And we were, I don't know how much those guys were promised, but I was promised $45K a year.
Yeah, I was looking at about $45,000 to $50,000 a year. Yep.
Wow. Well, now in looking this up, and again, there's still a lot of stuff out there about. You got to look. I mean, you have to. It's not just a Google search and you're going to find it. I mean, you have to look for a little bit, but there's still a lot of stuff up there. It said on here, April 15, 2015, Crucial inked a deal with DirecTV. It said on here that included in that deal, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Kevin Nash, John Cena Sr., Vader, Ricky Morton, Boogeyman, and Al Snow, along with Chris Sabin. We're all supposed to be a part of this wrestling organization that was coming up. And on top of that, the slogan was going to be "Less talk, more wrestling." Who had anything to do with all those names? I mean, who was getting in contact with all these wrestlers?
I contacted a lot of them, to be honest, and it was crazy because this is what made it more believable for me. I'm on the phone talking to these legends all the time, selling this to them, and I became friends with Vader over the phone. We would talk a lot on the phone. He would send me pics of him, working out. Hey brother, check this out, and it was embarrassing. It all came down to it because then you know what I mean. It's like I always looked up to Vader, and now now I consider somebody I looked up to as a friend, and now I've been, because basically I was Ron Kennedy's right hand man. I was like number 2, so it was.
So how much of this fell back on you? I mean, how many people, when this fell through, that they absolutely knew this was not going to happen? How many people came to Eddie Ortega and was giving you the brunt of, hey, you guys are slying us. We need our money. We invested this and that, our time, our. How many people got a hold of you, Eddie, right after this happened?
Well, to be honest, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. I think I got out of it before the ship really sunk, but the people that know me, like Howard and stuff, know that that's not me, know that I'm not out here trying to scam people, and those people that know me, they do the deal. But there was some people that that don't know me outside of know me personally, just know me based on what they see. There was a lot of people that thought I was a scam artist, and it hurt my image around here a little bit, to the ones that didn't really know me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm the number 2 man. What's going on? You know what I mean? So
right.
I'm talking to a lot of these people and selling this opportunity to them and whatnot. And what saved me, I believe, is that I got out in the nick of time before it all imploded, and I really started to see what was happening, and I seen it right before it was just like. And I public that I was getting. That's when really hit the fan because everybody's seeing, number 2 jump ship, what's going on, and that's when everybody really started taking notice of it. It's really,
So I want to go around. I want to go around to all three of you. Howard, when was the last time you actually heard from Ron Kennedy?
I'd probably say it was the beginning of April. I know we had we were having a show in South Carolina. It was kind of like the practice show where we actually were all supposed to get together and have a show and meet some of the wrestlers and get everything worked out. And like I said, I had a job. I ended up leaving that job and I didn't have any money and Ron wasn't paying me. So I'm like, hey man, I can't make it down to the show because I don't got the money to come down. And then I kept, when are you going to pay me? When are you going to pay me? And he kept coming up with excuses, his mom this, his mom that, so I started contacting his mom. His mom was a huge taker in this whole thing too. And finally, I'm done with it. I can't, if I'm not getting paid, man, I'm not going to be a part of this. I'm going to walk away. I'm going to see if I can salvage my job and go back to work and get a paycheck, man. I'm too old to be trying to fly for a dream that ain't going to happen. So
did you put any of your own money into this? I mean, did you
Absolutely not. No, I think if he would have started asking me for money, it's probably about the time that I would have walked away too. That's one of the reasons why I kind of stuck around for as long as I did, because he never actually came to me for money. Other than getting on the phone, basically my job, 8 hours a day was cold calling for sponsorships. So I was calling pretty much every business I could come up with and trying to get some money to help pay for it. Just your basic promotional sponsorships. Like, hey, if you pay this much money, we'll put your name on a banner, put your name on our on the shows and whatever.
And let me guess, the money was funneled to Ron Kennedy, right? You didn't see any of that money.
Yeah, as soon as you got a fish on the line, you'd pretty much be done with it and tell them, all right, well, you got to get a hold of Ron, and Ron will take care of you from there.
Okay, that sounds about right. I mean, with everything that I've heard from everybody, Eddie, when's the last time you heard from Ron himself?
Well, it was probably after I went public and saying I was jumping. I was leaving, and trying to say, "Oh, I consider you as a friend." Blah, blah, I can't believe you would do something like that. Blah 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 blah. And I mean, I tried to warn. There was another guy that I can't recall. Maybe Chuck remembers the guy's name, but there was a guy, another worker that was with Ron Kennedy to this practice show or whatever that was supposed to be South Carolina, and I guess I became the number 2 after I left, but he was with Ron Kennedy. I was trying to know about it, but wrote it until the death of it. I can't recall the name, but yeah.
I can't think of his name either, but I know who you're talking about.
I think it was,
Chuck probably remembers.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to play it safe and tell you, yeah, I remember. But due to, I mean, I like the guy. He's good. Before I tell you the last time that I talked to one of the guys that was going to be the belt carrier of CCW, if you remember that. Asked him if he wanted to do this interview, and he declined because he said he had been blackballed. After that whole incident, he had been blackballed, and he was finally pulling himself up by his bootstraps, and he was finally getting back out there, and there was shows coming his way. So due to that, I will save face. I don't have any hard feelings against anybody there, and that is the reason why I will remain silent. But yes, this guy, local worker in our area, he defended him, and he defended him right up to the end that I left. And the last time that I talked to Ron, it was very, very heated discussion because where Howard didn't pay in any money, I did. And I was promised a return on investment and all this other stuff. And that was the first time that I'd heard these words, guys. I didn't know. dude, I'm one of the minions for the higher ups. I've never been a higher up any time in my life, so therefore this contract signing and all that, it was new to me, and so yeah, it was a pretty heated discussion. Something about kicking his face in when I seen him and all that. Yeah, that was the last thing I said to him.
So Howard and Eddie both told us what they had to do for Ron. What did you have to do for Ron?
I had to reach out to the workers and tell them, hey, I got this new show coming up, and here's the deal, guys. You want to be a part of it? You need to invest a little money. I need $60 from you so I can make you an entrance video. And I need to be paid for that, and he needs to be paid for that because there's a lot of time in that. I've spent probably 6 to 7 hours doing one of these videos for I don't know, probably what, 2-3 minutes, maybe if the entrance lasted that long. But when I jumped ship, my character started being questioned. And yeah, I had one worker who was absolutely aggravated with me and said that I was a part of it. And I said, no, I wasn't, and the money that came into it for these entrances went to Ron.
So everybody who did something, so with all three of you on the screen, all three of you did something for hours on end. And when it came to money, it was all funneled to Ron. But when it came to doing work, like you did videos, you made sure the talent was, was up to par with everything that was going on. You were calling for venues and doing all kinds of other things. And you were getting all these sponsors, to go around the ring, to go around the arena, to get, all this. And all this stuff was getting funneled to Ron. Now, it falls apart. We're going to get to the part right now where it falls apart. Okay? It caves in on Ron. Everybody realizes Crucial Conflict Wrestling is not going to happen. Now, Eddie, you said that you got out of the game just in time before everybody basically jumped down your throat for being the number 2 guy. Well, this is for Howard and Chuck. Did you guys get any people, and Chuck, I think you kind of touched on it, but did you guys have any people that got in contact with you that said, hey, I was promised this, what's going on?
Well, on my end, thankfully, getting sponsorships is not an easy task, especially when you're cold calling from out of state. I'm from Ohio. So I'm calling these people down in South Carolina trying to get some this money from them for this new big wrestling promotion. And thankfully, no one really ever bit on my hook. But I had a couple people. One in particular is a hot sauce person down there in South Carolina who was very into it. He paid, I think it was between $300 and $400. That of course went directly to Ron. Started coming to me, and he couldn't get a hold of Ron anymore, and he's like, "Hey man, I gave you guys this much money for the sponsorship. What's going on?" And I'm like, "Hell, I don't know. I can't get a hold of Ron either. I'm done. I'm out of it." So to this day, man, I feel bad because this guy paid money out on my name to pay for a sponsorship that he never got. So
Howard, how many? Just a ballpark figure, man. How many sponsorships did you send toward Ron? Would you say it was 100?
No, way less than that. Just a few. I didn't, honestly, like I said, it's really, really hard to get sponsorship, especially cold calling. So I only had one definite sale, and that was to this gentleman down there in South Carolina.
Okay.
I had a couple that were on the line, but once this stuff started going down, I said Ron was calling on a daily basis. He'd be in tears at sometimes. So Ron Kenny would call you crying. I'm putting my kids on the line right now. That was one of his big things, was like, it's my kids. It's all about my kids. I can't feed my kids on your guys not getting sponsorships. So that just makes you want to work harder and do better and get more sponsorships. But, at the end of the day, I wasn't getting paid either. So
Eddie and Chuck, did you guys get any of these crying phone calls in the middle of the night?
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah,
what did he tell you?
Okay, well, when the water started coming into the ship, all of a sudden he had a cancer relapse. Remember that, guys?
Yes, I do. I remember the cancer relapse. Yep, I remember that
Okay.
now.
So it was he was not a very happy camper. He was pitiful. He was going back into this program for chemo and all that other stuff. And I've received many phone calls where he is in dire straits or seemed to be. A liar is a liar is a liar is a liar. We don't know what the truth was, and we don't know what a lie was.
Right.
Hey, and to kick this off, to make this even better, he was a pastor at one time, supposedly. I've seen, he was probably doing it for money, but he didn't, so.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the guy legitimately was a pastor and then became a promoter and started doing all the. I guess he thought there was bigger money in doing the wrestling con than there was in conning Christians, right?
Probably.
Yeah, he actually, if you look in YouTube, you can still find some of his pastoral stuff. It's Nicholas Cross. YouTube Nicholas Cross. That was his gimmick, and that was also his pastoral stuff.
So he didn't even use his real name when he was a priest.
Yeah, YouTube Nicholas Cross. You'll find all sorts of stuff from him. I'm telling you, it's been a long time since he posted anything, but they're still on YouTube. So,
well, I have to tell everybody who's watching that I did try to find Ron Kennedy. I did look up as far as I could find all the information that I could on him. I was given some information, but a lot of it I went out and hunted, and apparently he's fallen off the map. He is nowhere to be found. I don't know if that's on purpose. I don't know if he's going under another alias, but when I started this show, I made a point, right? I made a point to say that, these guys are out there, and if you're watching this show and you're in the wrestling business and you're a wrestler and somebody comes up to you and, even if they show you a contract, take it to a lawyer. Make sure it's legit. Do everything you can, because if these three guys, hindsight 2020, if these three guys would have had those contracts looked into, they probably would have squashed it right then and there.
No,
am I correct?
No, I took mine to a lawyer. A lawyer. He looked up and he said the only thing that was wrong was the state that was on there. The state that the contract was for. It needed to be for North Carolina. It was for South Carolina. So I said what we found out, and we had him change it, and he changed it.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
The only thing I didn't have on my contract was his signature.
Yep.
So these were legit. So he went as far as getting legit contracts, but none of them were signed, correct?
Not by him.
None of them were signed.
So he sent you legit contracts, had you working under what you thought were legit contracts for let's just say $40,000 to $50,000 a year. My gosh, man, all this put together, it sounds awesome in a way, but to think of how many people he conned all at once. He had you three working for hours on end, you calling for sponsors, you making sure the ship runs right. Chuck was over here making intro videos and getting money from them, all the money being funneled to Ron. I found 4 different videos from 4 different people doing podcasts, the wrestlers doing podcasts, going on major podcasts at the time. The most notable being Vader. I mean, there was things being put up on the internet saying that DirecTV, you guys had a contract with DirecTV. You guys were about to get a TV contract with a major TV deal like AEW is doing right now. I mean, it looks so legit.
Yeah.
And what came about is what really opened my eyes and a couple others is we had I think what was his name, Dan Marati.
Yeah.
Dan Marotti did a lot of because he had screwed Dan Marotti over. I can't remember what exactly he did to him. Maybe Chuck remembers, but I remember Dan getting the royal shaft from Ron Kennedy. He started doing a lot of background on the whole situation. Found out like, the renders that he got for the arena because he was going all in on selling this thing. He had renders made of the entrance the entrance stage and everything that was done by an actual company, that was rendered by an actual company. Murat went and looked all that up and come to find out, he did the renders. Kennedy never paid him, and the same thing with everything else. He went and he never paid deposits on the arenas. I had me booking these dates, and some of the arenas, like one in Winston-Salem, had the advertisements up and everything on the website. I think Jingles even had the flyer up on the website. You know what I mean? So he had these events lined up. He never paid. He was never paid for anything. That's why it's so believable, because I'm sitting here talking to these venues. I'm getting these contracts. They're putting the flyers and stuff on their websites. You got Vader out here excited about it. It was just crazy, because to this day, it's like, how did he put all this work into conning these people and get so little out of it? It's like, he wasn't even smart. I mean, he was smart as far as like, making it so believable that it was hard not to believe it. But at the same time, I felt like he could have found an easier scam and got more money.
That's the part that is confusing me in all this. I mean, like I said, all this stuff looked legit. It from beginning to end. If you were to look up, Crucial Conflict Wrestling and do some investigating, it looks legit. The wrestlers, all these named wrestlers, these are big time wrestlers. I mean, I would pay money to go see Hacksaw Jim Duggan, back in 2015. Big Sexy Kevin Nash. I mean, Vader, Ricky Morton. I mean, Boogeyman, Al Snow of all people. I mean, and these guys were coming on these podcasts saying, yeah, they're not against high flying, but this is going to be real wrestling. We're bringing it back to its glory days of wrestling. And we've talked to the upper echelon of the people at CCW, and these. We're really excited, because it's not going to be a WWE product. It's not going to be all these high flyers. There's going to be real storylines. There's going to be I sat and listened to a 45-minute podcast of one of my heroes in wrestling make this sound like, man, if you didn't come see this, you were going to miss out on something. And to find out that this was all just a fake, it blows my mind. It really does. And like you said, for little to nothing.
So the thing about it is, now here I can personally vouch for one of these Vader interviews, because I interviewed Vader. Do you remember when I did that, guys? You remember when I did the podcast with Big Van Vader? Okay. Before the show started, I was going over with him, what do you want to talk about? What do you not want to talk about? And he said, I really, really want to focus on CCW. And he did that to the point of one time I was talking to him about, I think it was the Stan Hansen incident where his eye came out. And he didn't want to talk about that. He stopped me. He's there to talk about CW.
Yeah. Yeah, Vader was very, very into it. We'd have conference calls once, twice, sometimes 3 times a week, where literally all the workers, 30, 35 people would get on the phone, and discuss stuff. And Vader would be the guy who would lead the charge, and he would tell, I don't know about every other independent wrestler in the world, but me personally, I started out as a fan. I was a fan way before I was a wrestler, and even as a wrestler, I was still a fan, man. So the fact that I got to talk to Vader, and I had Vader being like that guy to tell me how to do things right, it was amazing. And the fact that I was being led to believe that I might be the next big thing, man. I might not. I don't think I ever would have wrestled for the CCW, but I was the guy behind the scenes running the charge and making these things happen. So just playing the workers and the sponsors and everybody else saying, hey man, come do this thing with us, man. This is about to be the coolest thing ever. And now I look back at them, I feel bad because I'm pressing some of these people to do something they might not have done before without having us push their buttons. And my buttons were being pushed in the background.
That's where I had Scott, but that's where I felt I have, and kind of touched on this before we went live, is that I had a guilt because like how together in the same school and everything, and I brought this, and I'm passionate about what's going on here, and I sold it. He's coming along. He quit his job, and now he's not getting paid. He's struggling to have. He had to go back to the job where he lost all the seniority that he built up. I mean, you know how the industry works. It's
right.
Big time on seniority. Howard, I don't know if you got that back or anything.
Your audio is kind of acting up, so I'm going to tell everybody what you just said. Basically, what Eddie just said was he felt bad because of everything that was going on. Howard quit his job, wasn't making any money from his shoot job, wasn't, he was depending solely on what was going on here at this Crucial Conflict Wrestling thing, and he had to go back and apologize, save face, go back, lose all his seniority in his job. You had, and I'm going to continue with what you were going to say, you have Chuck down here who not only did all this work, did all these videos, but he invested. He gave money of his own out of his bank account to this guy because he thought this was going to be legit and it was going to and the cash flow was going to start coming back at him. So you've got people whose lives are changing. I mean, I'm hearing all three of you, and the one thing that goes through my mind is you gave this guy hours and hours and hours of time you can't get back. You can't get back with your family. You can't get back to spend, doing what, would have been a legit anything. I mean, you guys lost all this time to this beast. And my big question of this whole thing is, have you ever to this day, and I think I already know the answer, have you ever to this day got anything close to an apology?
Absolutely not.
I knew the answer before I asked it, but some people are probably out there thinking, "Hey, maybe he got a hold of one of you guys, and tried to, make it sound legit again." Or, here's a question: since you guys all said no, what would happen the next time? And let's keep it PG, folks. The only time ever on #Truth, I'm asking somebody to keep it PG. What would you do the next time Ron Kennedy would be standing in front of you?
I wouldn't ask him anything. I'd probably just hit him in the face. And I'd probably just straight out jack him up. Give him a nice little jaw jack.
That's fair. What would you do, Eddie?
Those two people would probably kick his ass. Me, I really just want to know why. I would really legitimately just want to know why. Well, I mean, maybe his true intentions were to do this, and it felt like I just want to know really why.
But if that was the case, that was the case, Eddie, why not just get a hold of you guys? You know, right? I heard that you guys were all the way up to the first performance where you had to go into the first big venue, and then all of a sudden, last minute, he pulled the plug and said, "Well, we're not going to be able to make this venue. Let's make it up at the next venue." Did that happen?
Yeah, well, he started saying, you know, well, maybe we gotta start using smaller venues and stuff like that. Like, it was crazy how it like snowballed into something huge.
So if this was legit, Eddie, why didn't he at that point go, you know what, guys, maybe I got in a little bit over my head. Maybe this isn't going as well as I thought it was going to go. The money's really not there. Let's sit down, and you know, a legit businessman would have left it all out on the table. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It started out as one of his big spiels to us is that we're not going to start with the armories. We're not going to start with the high schools. We're not going to start with the bingo halls. We're going to go to these 5,000 to 10,000 seat venues. Not quite the Bojangles. The Bojangles is probably the biggest one that he had up there, but some pretty big venues. And that's what he wanted to start with. And then when it started getting to the end, he's like, well, now maybe we should do high schools and bingo halls and these things. And that's kind of when I wanted started downsliding. There is one thing I would like to mention too. There's another guy that started this with us. I don't want to put his name out there because he's not in it. And I haven't really talked to him in a really long time, but he started with basically when he was a worker. He was actually supposed to be the first title holder, and he was into it pretty big. He was probably into it bigger than any of us. He lives in Texas. I don't know if he still does or not, but he basically packed his entire house up, packed up his entire family, and was ready to move to South Carolina to be with Ron Kennedy to get this business going. And at the last minute, Ron Kennedy decided that this dude was a thief. He was stealing from the company. He started bashing this guy's name and just completely screwed him over. And he had us all believing that this dude was just a horrible person. And like, yeah, he's stealing from me. This is what he did. And like, hindsight is 20/20 again. And it's like, wow, man, like really, you literally packed up your entire house, like packed the stuff up, ready to go. And at the last minute, he said, oh, by the way, you can't come out here now. I don't want you out here. So if you want to find out this guy's name off the line, I'll be more than happy to give it to you, but I don't want to do it live.
I already know it, okay. But that's okay. I won't reveal it either. If you guys want to keep it hush-hush, that's fine. But it just still amazes me, man, because like Eddie keeps saying, and that keeps going through my mind now too, is if you're a con man, and I'm not a con man, don't want to be a con man. As a matter of fact, I hate those people when they come on Facebook and these hacks and all these other people. Man, I despise them people. But if you're gonna do a con to get money, to peel money from people, to destroy lives, hey sweetie, and if you're gonna I had to do it, I'm sorry. If you were gonna con people out of thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, this would be the last con I would think of. I mean, this would be at the bottom of the list. Because somebody at some point, like you guys, there came a point where his bluff got called. It was like, hey, we're at crunch time. Are we doing this thing? Well, here's an excuse. It's crunch time. We got to get this. Well, here's an excuse. Wrestlers, for one, are not idiots. People in the wrestling business are not idiots. They're not. Nobody in the wrestling business is an idiot. But, you know, so when it comes to crunch time and those questions, if you can't answer them, you guys, I applaud you for doing the right thing and just getting out. Because even if he was legit, and I'll get to you, Chuck, even if he was legit, and even if this whole thing in his eyes was legit, and there's professionalism that could have went along with this, that could have made this right. If he would have just had 1 ounce of professionalism and came to you guys, and you said it yourself, Howard, conference call after conference call, there could have been one conference call where he could have said, hey, guys, listen up. This is the deal. This is where I'm at. I have X amount of money. We have this much to do. I can't pay everybody. Who's willing to go through with this and get it done through the first show, whatever? We'll get all the money and I'll make it right with everybody. I'll even put it down in paper. He could have done any of that, but instead he bolted. He bolted. And that's the part that he can't take away. No matter what, with all three of you, he can't take that away. He bolted when he finally realized that, you know, all this stuff I'm doing isn't working. Instead of standing up like a man and saying, hey, I made a mistake. You three worked the hardest, or you 4 or 5, whatever, worked the hardest. You guys were my back. I'm going to give you this much, and more money is coming. Anything, but he jolted. And to me, I have no respect for anybody in the wrestling business who's going to be like that. And I'm a fan. I'm not even in the wrestling business. But if somebody were to do that with me and my podcast, oh my goodness, man. And Chuck knows how I feel about that. He's my partner. So, oh my God, man. You guys, I want to applaud all three of you, first of all, for coming on and telling me your story, because a lot of people would have just said, you know what? I don't even want to talk about it. That's how bad it is. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I want to thank you guys. But Chuck, you said you had something to say, man.
To address you on what you said there. He said all the right things. I got to be honest. If there was a fire,
though, right? Up to a certain point, because now he's gone. Nobody knows where he's at.
Once he had to face the music, yeah, he bolted. He bolted and he stole some stuff from a rental place. They find him over in a hotel room over in Monroe or Matthews or what have you. And he leaves the girl that he took with him there. He leaves her to try to get out the bathroom window.
Yep. Halfway out the window, the dudes caught him out the window.
They caught him hanging out the bathroom window. But anyway, you know, you were saying that, okay, it's like as we got closer to the Asheville show. The Asheville show was the one that was going to kick it off. I don't remember the date. Don't really care. When a wrestler here named Crucifix called him out on it, said that he was a fake, I got in touch with him and I told him, I said, look, dude, this guy's blasting you. And he wanted to hide. Well, why? Why should I do that? Because he's going to come back with something else. And that's okay. Really, honestly and truly, I started seeing holes in this whole thing. That was one of them. And when he announced to me that he was the nephew of Vince McMahon, that's when I said, wait. Hold on.
Laughed. I'm sorry, dude, but I would have laughed in his face if you'd have told me that. I would have straight laughed in his face.
Oh, Lord.
Well, you know, it's like people have uncles that are not really their uncles. So maybe. But he had millions of dollars, and Vince was the one. Look, Vince was the one who was putting up money for this to help him along, because Vince wanted to be a silent partner, and he was competition for the WWE.
If that was the case, everything would have gotten paid for lickety split, dude. That's a McMahon you're talking about, man. Vince McMahon is all about his business. It don't have to be just the WWE. It's about business. It's money. Don't think he won't drop the WWE in a heartbeat if it comes down to his money.
Right.
So that right there would have made me laugh in his face, man. That's comical to me.
Yeah, he was told he was going to the pay-per-view. He was going, I forget which pay-per-view it was, but he said, I'm gonna go to this pay-per-view, and I have a meeting with Vince McMahon, and blah 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 blah. And so afterwards, I said, "So how'd the meeting go with Vince McMahon?" He said, "Not too well. He was on like a minute, and I forget what he told me, but yeah." So supposedly,
dude, seriously, Eddie, think about this. Vince McMahon gets totally offended when you talk about AEW. Right now, you say AEW in front of Vince McMahon, you can literally see smoke come out of his ears. Do you seriously think that some guy who started off a business with the motto of telling you guys, hey, we're going to be bigger than the WWE. That's why I want you guys to jump on board. We're going to get all these great wrestlers, and he's going to get a meeting with the man?
Right.
Bells and whistles should have blew up, man. Bells and whistles. And I'm not saying you're stupid, Eddie. That's not what I'm saying, because I'm pretty sure he made you believe it. There are people out there that'll make you believe the sky is purple, man, and I know a few of those people.
Right.
But,
I mean, it's
woo,
and it's easy to say that, like, on your end, because you didn't really experience what we experienced. But you know, like I said, man, I mean, you're spending hours on the phone coming up with ideas, and it come across something that's gonna. Why would somebody spend that much time with so little of a return? Like it didn't make sense to me.
Well, the thing that matters the most to me in all of this, and I understand what you're saying and why you just want to ask why, but if he was being legit about this, and you were his number two, wouldn't it be in his best interest to call you the second he knew that this wasn't going to happen and say, hey, Eddie, what can I do? Let's sit down here, and I've been throwing all these ideas at you. I've been talking to you for weeks about, you know, this, that, and the other. I've got a problem. This is my problem. Whether it be money, whether it be, you know, this, that, or the other. Dude, you put your life. I'm pretty sure you canceled some things with your family. I'm pretty sure you canceled, you know, a whole bunch of things. You made sure that you were right there, and Howard and Chuck the same way. And this guy was supposed to be like family. This guy was supposed to be supporting you, as a matter of fact. You know, the way Howard put it, he quit his job, dude. He was so in, he quit his job and went specifically doing what this man said. And when it came down to crunch time, he split. The bottom line is he split. He could have done 1,000,001 other things, man. He could have had somebody else call you and say, hey, man, I'm going through hard times. You know, he's going through hard times. He'll get back with you in a little bit. The bottom fell out. Things are happening. A lot of things are going on. He can't get in contact with anybody. You know, he'll get with you in a week or two. Nothing. When's the last time you literally heard from Ron Kennedy?
He split after I had already left. Like,
right.
We've seen, you know, I seen where it was going and how it was going down at the Ball of Flames, and I got out. Right. I mean, he stuck around after I left. He still was holding on to the last little thread of what I guess existed at that time. Right. For probably a month or so. I can't recall the exact time, but he was still trying to run with it after I left with the other guy that was with him at that time.
Right.
Yeah.
But when he left, he still owed you money, right? He still owed you for time spent.
He only paid me and Howard one time. So
and I believe Chuck said the same thing. He only paid you and Laura one time, right?
Right. Right.
So,
and Laura quit her job.
Right.
I quit my job. My job was just a little.
Hey.
To quit my job, people like Howard that has seniority and had a good job. It was more
right.
You know.
Right. See, that's the part that would have made me the angriest. Is if I'm gonna drop, you know, the livelihood of my family because you are making this so believable, and you know the least you can do is come back at me, even if I left out early. Come back at me and say, hey man, let me make this right with you. I know, you know, it fell through. I knew I got in over my head. At least be honest about it, man. That's the part that kills me is in listening to this story. And that's the first thing when Chuck was telling me about this was the family lives that got, you know, spun around because of this. I don't know if you have a wife and kids, but I'm seeing that Howard does. I know Chuck does. And I feel for the family. I feel for y'all's family more than anything. You guys are big boys. You guys, are gonna bounce back and make it right, because you're smart. People in wrestling to begin with are smart people. You have to be smart because you got to be able to pull the wool over some people's eyes, play characters, and think of things that would blow people's minds and make them pop. So I understand you got to have a little bit of genius up there somewhere. But this guy, I can't defend him in any way, shape, or form with the way he ended it. Yeah, he was probably legit. He might have been legit all the way up until things started crashing. But why would he run when things started crashing, especially to the people that were doing the most for him? That's the part that gets me upset, and I'm not even involved in this. And I want to punch the dude in the face because I see through by your facial expressions that this guy, you guys, I can see by looking at you, you're remembering things that I'm not remember. I wasn't there, so I don't know. But you're remembering things about conversations you had with this guy, about things he said, and going back and talking to your family. I guarantee you, Howard, you had at least a dozen conversations with your wife about, hey, this is going to be awesome. We're going to make it. We're going to be okay. Am I right?
Yeah, she was the one she was the kind of one that said, "Hey, man, this is kind of a dream of yours, so do it." Because I was like, "Hey, man, I'm literally quitting a job that I know I'm getting an actual paycheck, and I know I'm going to get a paycheck, and I know tomorrow I'm going to be going to work and getting money. This is one of those things where I'm getting a contract. It's not a definite thing." She's like, "Hey, it's a dream of yours, to go for it." So I went for it.
Right.
And
if he would have came back to you, Howard, if Ron would have came back to you right there toward the end when you guys started doing venues and he was canceling on the big venues and he started saying, "Okay, let's do smaller venues." If he would have said, "Look, guys, if he would have called a conference with you four, you three, and the other guy that you said was moving from from the other state to South Carolina," if he would have put all four of you guys together and said, "Hey, I can't pay you $50,000 a year right now. I can give you a base salary, a weekly salary, something like that. We're going to have to redo your contracts. I got in over my head. I still want to do the big venues. I still want you guys to do what you're doing, and I'll pay you a weekly salary instead of this." Would you guys would have kept going?
No, I would have walked away. I mean, it would have been. I would have respectfully declined is that because obviously I have a lifestyle that I got to uphold. So I would have said, "Well, I have to have a sure thing. I have to have a sure thing."
Eddie, what would you say to that?
I mean, it would depend on the terms. Like, how far along was it, and how long have I not? I mean, he wasn't paying at all, so
right.
So I mean, a restructured contract really wouldn't mean anything if he still wasn't going to pay.
I got you, Chuck. What would you have said?
I don't know. See, the thing about it is, looking back on this thing, there's several promoters that I know who said, you should have known that it was bullshit from the beginning. Well, okay, yeah, maybe you're right. But there was that chance that we could be on the bigger stage and we could get our names out there. And that's all we want to do.
But I mean, in defense of that, and I see where Eddie keeps going to, from the outside looking in, and even me right now, when I was looking this up, 14 years later?
That was long ago.
Well,
4 years.
4 years, 4 or 5 years ago. Okay, 4 or 5 years. I keep thinking 2005, but it was 2015. Anyway, even 5 years ago, think about this. Everything was there. You had the big name wrestlers. All of you were talking to them on the phone. You had, Vader, you had, all these other wrestlers you were talking to. They were all complying with what you were asking for. He was doing videos. You were getting, like I said, and I'll end up going through all this again. But all the wheels were turning. It looked good until it came to crunch time. And then it just started falling apart. I'm pretty sure if we had Ron here, and I'll play devil's advocate. Let's say if Ron was legit and he was here, And he would have probably said, Howard, you didn't pull me enough money to pay the wrestlers, pay the venues, and pay this. Well, Eddie,
That's exactly what you'd say.
oh yeah, Eddie, you didn't, you didn't truly believe in my vision, so you weren't out there making my vision happen. And Chuck down here, he only got me, 12 of my 40 videos that he promised to do me, even though I said I was in charge at the beginning of making these videos happen, and so, I'm telling you, I do, Eddie, I do know some people who talk like that. I do know people who's done that to me, not on that high a level where I've quit a job, but I do know people who will tell me the sky is purple and I literally have to go out there and look because they make it sound believable. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, my grandpa used to say, don't bullshit a bullshitter. There's a lot of them out there. I don't mean to use that derogatory term, but there's a lot of people out there that can do that. Half of them are in wrestling as wrestlers. You know what I'm saying? I mean, but, and I'm not down in wrestlers. It's your job to do that. You know what I'm saying? But for real life, that hurts, man. It's not a funny thing when it comes to real life. Howard could have hit rock bottom because of that. Howard could have lost a wife and a family because of what he did. You know what I'm saying? And that's just horrible. I'm glad his wife was, 100% behind him in whatever he chose to do. I've got a wife that's like that too when it comes to this podcast and everything. She's 100% behind me. But let it have something to bring my family apart. Oh my God, this thing would go down in a heartbeat, in flames, if it had something to do with my family. So I'm glad that Howard came on and told this story. I'm glad that you, Eddie, came on and told your. That's why I have all three of you on here to tell your different versions, because people like that hit a lot of people. And the only part that I'm messed up on is the ending of it. It sounded good all the way up until it came to crunch time. And then Ron was nowhere to be found, and you three are left holding the bag, or 4 or 5, or how many people were helping him, were his right-hand mans. That I can't condone, and that's what wrestling needs to get rid of, is people like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it came down to at the very end. I think, like Chuck said, the Asheville show was supposed to be our first big one. And, of course, I'm looking for, sponsors and stuff, and I'm having a real hard time finding people to give me money to help get this promotion up and going. So I get a hold of the Asheville. I don't know the name of the arena or whatever, but I actually get a hold of them. I'm like, hey man, can you put me on with your promotions? I need help getting these sponsors. Can you tell me how you guys get sponsors? You do it all the time. It's your job, right? They're like, yeah, we'd love to help you. However, you have this date booked, but we don't have any money to hold this date. Can you give us some money for your venue time? I'm like, well, I should have been paid for. They're like, no, there's a verbal contract that you guys want this date, but we don't have any kind of money to hold it for you. So that's when kind of like, well, hey Ron, what's going on with this? Where's my paycheck? Where's this money for Asheville? And that's kind of like when I started like backing off the whole situation. Like, I can't do this anymore. I can't not get paid, and I can't just, everything is going on right now is shady as hell. So that's pretty much when I walked out of the whole show.
And that at that point is when Ron, if he was legit, should have started telling you something. He should have started explaining something if he was being legit. You know what I'm saying? That's the point where he says, well, I got to scale back. Money isn't coming in. This ain't, we lost Eddie. but that's when he should have manned up, if anything. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. Well, Ron was a millionaire, man. Ron had a $10 million house. Actually, I think he had a couple of them, even though he lived in his mom's basement. It's like, oh, yeah.
So if he's a millionaire, why can't he pay for this Coliseum for one night?
Well, at one point he was like, hey man, I'm still in my $10 million house, so we can have money to pay for all this stuff. It's like the sales there. I just gotta get the pay for it and get this money from this guy that's still buying his house. He already had a seller and or a buyer and everything, and it just never happened. So,
right. Well, that's the part that confuses me is, you know, I think I made Eddie upset. I hope I didn't. I hope that's not why he dropped off. But
I think he was having issues with his connection.
Yeah, he seemed like he sort of believed that he's coming back on. Here he comes. I'll get him back on here. But it sounded there he is. He's back.
Lost connection.
Nah, you good, man. You good. But it just seemed like, you know, again, if I was in your guys' shoes, I would have believed it. If I would have had a contract in hand, you know, and he threw you a bone. He paid you one time. I mean, he threw you a bone. But, you know, when it came to crunch time, it just fell apart. And maybe it legitimately happened that way. But he should have manned up at the end and told everybody that, you know, he didn't have the money. He wasn't who he was. We need to move some things around. If he truly had his heart into this wrestling and that he would have done the right thing, but he split. I mean, that's like a father, you know, and this is my comparison to that. It's like a father who leaves his wife right after childbirth, never pays child support for the kid, never comes around, and all of a sudden the kid turns 18 and the father wants to be all up in that kid's life and act like he did you know, oh, the mother did this, the mother did that. No, you should have been there too. You should have manned up back then. You know what I'm saying? There comes a point in a situation where he should have manned up and he never did. So I can't believe in a guy like that. I can't. And like Eddie asking why, I would have asked why, but it would have been after a beatdown. I'm just saying it the way I feel, man. It would have been after a beatdown. I would have left a few breaths. Yeah, I would have left a few breaths in his chest to answer the question, but it would have been after a beatdown, man. Because
every time you punch him in the face, you'd be like Nancy Kerrigan. Why?
I think he kind of dropped off the social networking thing because he realized that it wasn't just, you know, me, Eddie, and Chuck, and a couple of people who were the main players in this whole thing. But
look at all the wrestlers in this, man.
The wrestlers, 40 other big independent guys whose dreams just pretty much got crushed, and who would be willing to crush him. He's one dude against 40-something pro wrestlers. Now, pro wrestlers are tough guys, man. You mess with people like that, you want to disappear and not show your face anywhere. Because I'm sure a good portion of them boys was from South Carolina, Tennessee, North Carolina, from his area. You know, I'm from Ohio, so there's not much I can do, right? But you know, you're talking 15, 20 dudes from South Carolina who are real close to you and probably wouldn't have a hard time finding you. You better disappear because they will come after you.
God rest his soul, but I would not have wanted to stand in front of Van Vader and say, I suckered you.
Yeah, Vader is one of the toughest dudes in the business.
That would have been a bad day.
But you know what?
And pitchforks.
Right.
At least on my end of this whole thing, and I thank you for having me on here and everything. I appreciate. It kind of sucks bringing this old memories back. It's not something I'm proud of, but you know, if this stuff didn't happen to me, I don't think I'd be where I'm at right now. I'm not in a bad spot. I'm actually really happy where I am. You know, I made mistakes. I made up for them. I'm in a good spot in my life right now, and I wish the best for everybody, man. Even Ron Kennedy.
Are you still a part of the wrestling business in any way?
I wrestled a couple shows after the fact. I'm getting older. I'm up to like 43 now, and I'm beat up. I have a good job, so I don't really want to mess that up again. You know, I can't get hurt.
Hey,
I use my entire body at work, so having a twisted ankle or a sprained wrist or your normal wrestling soreness, I just can't handle. I can't do that. So
now, before we went on the air, Howard was asking you, Eddie, about a promotion, man. So you know I'm going to ask what's going on with this promotion that I don't know about.
Well, it's not anything to do with wrestling. I'm actually a music
Okay. Okay.
I
Well,
do
hey.
stuff with music. So
Okay. So
I'm
are
right now.
what are you promoting?
Well, right now I'm working on a live TV platform for independent artists. So
Okay.
I'm working on it right now.
Okay. All right, Chuck. What you doing now? I already know the answer, but I'm gonna let you say it.
First off, let me say, Eddie, you look fabulous with that pie all over your face. That is one of the best pictures that I have seen
No, that's right.
in quite some time. And congratulations. What was your numbers? What was your numbers on that, by the way? How many people came out for that?
I had about 150.
Wow.
Very good. Very good. It was what was it exactly? Dive into it a little bit more and share it with me, and then I'll tell you what's going on with me.
Okay, so like I book and promote like concerts and stuff, and the concept I had for that was Battle of the Sexes. It was basically the females performed against the males. I was the host. I had a female host. We had 2 DJs, a female DJ and a male DJ, and basically the crowd response on who had the better performance. And at the end of the night, the losing host get pied, which ended up being me. Women defeated us, so I got the pie to the face. But it was actually that's a precursor to something bigger I'm working on, which is the World Song Battle League, which is I'm trying to make that a touring thing, and I'm using some elements of professional wrestling mixed in with the music industry, and it's going to be like a little tournament where we have a championship belt made. I'm actually having the championship belt made right now. Winner of the tournament takes the song battle title and moves on to the next town. That's the plan.
Wow, that's cool. I love that. That is an excellent idea, man. Let me know when you're in our area because I would love to come. I would love to come see that when you get that going. Just to say I could see it.
Leave it to a guy from the business making music a competition. That's awesome.
But it's not just for anything, though. It's for a belt.
It is. It's for a belt.
Okay, so I have gone back into the professional wrestling world. I don't know if you guys seen it on Facebook or not. I'm managing a group by the name of the 5-Star District. Boom, baby. Hashtag. Got to throw that out there. Tomorrow night, we're going to be in Fines Creek, North Carolina at IWC. The following weekend, we're going to be back over in Kings Mountain, North Carolina for New Millennium Championship Wrestling. And then we also have Big Daddy Z's show, AWC out in Morganton. He is having the Dead Man's Party.
Yep.
So I got that going on, and outside of that, guys, I might be hitting you up to do another interview for the hashtag truth.
Yes, he is my producer and my partner. I will let that out of the bag right now. He is my producer and my partner. A lot of people already know that, but yeah, we work well together. He gets the wrestlers and the people like you to come on my show, and I get to do the interviews. So,
okay, so in light of everything that was said there, let me make this public right here. The best thing that Ron Kennedy did for me was get me out there, so I have friends like these 2 gentlemen here. Howard, I don't talk to you that much, but every time that I do, you respond. We've always had a very, very friendly environment between us. And Eddie, dude, you're a good guy. And I've always enjoyed talking to you. Ronnie Ribbs from the Boston area. I enjoy talking to him from time to time. Dylan Cage, still talk to him. And so, outside of all of that, I think that my friendships that I have gained through that is pretty near and dear to me.
Absolutely, I agree 100%, Chuck.
I just want to put something out, not to talk over you guys, but I just want to put something out. Normally during hashtag truth, there's people that talk over here on the People Talk, and then I put things up on here, but I didn't do that today. I don't want people to think I'm ignoring them. I just wanted to get this story out there. I wanted people to hear this story and to pay attention to this story without, things interrupting it. So that's the reason why I didn't do that today. This will probably be the only show I'll ever do that to. I won't say the only, but very rarely will you see where I won't put, like things like this up on here, like, that because people say things and say hi and want to interact, and that's what my show is all about. But I really wanted people to hear this story, and that's why I didn't put them up as they came along, because that would have stopped the flow of everybody telling me what had happened. So I just want to put that out there for people who go back and watch this again and wonder why there was nothing put up on the screen. That is why, because Eddie, Howard, and Chuck all came to tell a story and basically tell people what to watch out for in the business when somebody makes something sound better than it should be. Investigate. All I'm saying is investigate. This could have turned out a lot different. We could have had Crucial Championship Wrestling, or whatever it was called. Yeah, Crucial Conflict Wrestling could have been the next AEW if things would have fell out right, and it might have been. I don't know. I wasn't there. I'm not Ron, and Ron is not here to defend himself. But from the stories that I'm hearing and the people that are showing up to talk about it, it sounds like Ron was a con artist, and that's the best way to put it. That's the best way to put it. So
friendliest way to put it.
Yeah, the friendliest way. Yeah.
I say the moral of the story. Is if it's too good, sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Mind your P's and Q's. Make sure you do your research. Make sure that it's a sure thing, because man, there's a lot of people.
Especially if it's somebody outside of your area. If it's somebody that you can't go personally drive, an hour or so and go investigate personally. Like, you're in Ohio, man. I could imagine what those people were thinking when you were calling South Carolina from Ohio, wanting money from them. I can imagine, okay, give me some credentials. I'm pretty sure you got some questions like, okay, what credentials do you have that I could believe that you're who you say you are? Because there's scammers all over the place, man. Mr. Howard, who are you?
I'm nobody.
Right? You know what I'm saying?
We all had it. You got pretty much a condensed version of the story as well. I mean, you got a good idea of what happened.
Right.
I'm sure Howard and Chuck can say the same thing. I mean, we could actually probably go on for hours by ourselves talking about individual things that happened. A condensed version of the story.
I would love to sit down and do a show with you one time, Eddie, and I want to hear some of the ideas that this man had, because that had to have been something that would blow your mind.
As far as the creation and all the creative side was all me, to be honest. It was my ideas.
Wow. So why aren't you? So here's my question to you then, sir. Why aren't you? Your music business is probably booming, but why aren't you in the promotion business then?
There's too many. It's flooded, man. To be honest,
that's a good answer.
As somebody on the business side, like if you're really looking at something on the business side of it, there's a lot of people that do it because they love to do it. And that's fine, and I would do it, and I'd love to do it as well. But financially speaking, I'm not looking to make money hand over fist or anything. But when there's so much competition, it's hard. It's just hard to make a good product. And then if you're in the local area, we have 3 in this.
We have 4 promotions in Toledo. I don't know if you know how big Toledo is. Toledo's not a very big city, mind you, but we literally have 4 independent wrestling promotions in Toledo.
But they got a rocking college football team anyway.
They do. They have a rocking college football team.
That was a joke. That was a joke, Chuck.
Did you guys lose to the Rockets, Chuck? Is that the problem?
That might be it.
I'm sorry. I've got a bad.
Yeah, okay.
Hey, man, I can see you.
Do sign language, Chuck. Man, well, let me tell you, thank you guys all for coming on the show and giving your side of the story. This has probably been one of my favorite hashtag truth episodes because this is what I envisioned when I saw hashtag truth. Not only do I want to get, young wrestlers on the show and give them, time to shine, but I want to bring the underbelly. That's why it's called hashtag truth. I want to bring the underbelly of wrestling up so everybody knows what it's about, man. And stories like this need to be told for this. The reason that Howard said was, moral of the story, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. You know what I'm saying? So thank you guys for coming on and telling me all your sides of the story. Howard, come back anytime, man, and talk to me about anything Ron said, or if you decide to come back into wrestling and do anything, man, hashtag truth would love to promote it. Just come on back anytime. Eddie, same thing with your music, man. If you want to use hashtag truth to promote something, if you're coming to our area, man, we are open. We'll put it up on our page, man. We would love to do it. And come back and talk to me anytime about this or any other thing that happened in wrestling back when you were actually in the wrestling business, man, because I love to hear the stories.
Yeah, I'm down with that.
And Chuck, I see you every day, so yeah, that's it. That's what I get. Thank you.
Hey, man. Thanks,
That's my
gentlemen.
final
I appreciate
word.
you.
All
Chuck,
right.
if you ever
That's
need to
my
get a hold of
final
me, man,
word.
you know how to get a hold of me.
All right, man. Before I go, I got to say it this way, man. There's a lot of Ron Kennedys out there, so watch out, world. And that's the hashtag truth.